All right, welcome back to another episode of the Boardroom. Today I have with me Nick of Lean Mining Pros. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
Good, how you doing?
Dude,
Uh,
really good.
we're going to actually talk about the company and take some dives into that, so it doesn't have to be a long intro, but give me like the 30,000 foot view of like who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it fast. I'll do the best I can, anyways. A couple of things that are important about my story is I was a restaurant manager for 13 years. Underpaid, overworked. That's an important part of this story, okay? But the most important part of those years, not only did they teach me great work ethic, but they taught me amazing customer service, right? And they really taught me, it may seem silly, but serving 10,000 burgers over my career taught me a thing or two about serving anybody anything,
I would
okay?
imagine.
It's all the same. Doesn't matter what you're giving people, right? So my career started there, all right? Now, what I did is then I got involved in a real estate education company soon after that 13 year, and I threw events all over the nation for real estate investors, and I became a part of their journey on how they generate leads. When I came into the world, it was heavy direct mail. This was 12 years ago. I think
Sure.
direct mail was like the only strategy. It's like when trains existed. We didn't have planes yet. We barely had cars, right? We only had this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
old means of strategy. Direct mail doesn't always work, right? That's the one thing. And depending on your budget, it might not even be a good fit to do direct mail.
Especially anymore.
So well, yeah, yeah, right. 12 years ago it was true.
Yeah.
It's even worse today, right? That's so true. And so I remember I got off the phone with one of my clients at that education company. And I actually spoke to her today. This is 12 years later, but I spoke to this client 12 years ago, and she called me up. She was very distressed. And she said, Nick, I just paid you guys $30,000 for education, and then you guys told me to spend $5,000 in direct mail. She says, Nick, my phone didn't even ring once, and I'm $35,000 in. She was devastated. It was her life
Oh, yeah.
savings. And at the time, I only made $70,000 a year, and I had $0 in savings. So I took her story very seriously
Sure.
time. And I remember thinking there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And it hit me like we're already paying Verizon and AT&T. Okay? Why don't we if we don't have the funds, why don't we cold call? And it became a big part of my story. Then I started cold calling for everyone. I actually started cold calling live on Facebook for myself. Okay. I
Nice.
went up Facebook Live every day. And I really did it to hold myself accountable because cold calling sucks. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So the whole thing was if I tell the world I'm going to be there, I need to be there. Okay. So I used it as an accountability mechanism to keep me in the game. Okay. Then, before I knew it, after 3 months of cold calling live, I had 9 clients that came they just saw me cold calling and they offered to pay me to call for them. Okay.
That's great.
Sure. Yeah. Like, hey, what the hell? I was making about $1,000 a week, working 10 hours a week. That was good money. That was great money for me. I'd never made $100 an hour in my life before this time. Right. Now, thank God things are much better. But at the time, it was interesting. And that was actually the birth of my company now, leadminingpros.com. This was 9.5 years ago. We've been in business for 9 years now. We've been very blessed. We actually just started our ninth year, January 1st, which is super exciting. Um,
Congratulations.
and what we do now, the evolution over time, sort of just as some kid cold calling on Facebook, now we have 4 main services we offer everybody. Okay, I can pull a list in any market in America. You give me the criteria, we can pull it. You can also always provide your own list. I don't make you use my data. I will ask you where you got it from, only because I want to make sure if you're going to give me money to call it or text it, that it's came from a good source.
That makes
So
sense.
if you say Fiverr, or if you say I don't know the criteria of the list or anything like that, I'm gonna say, hey, we need to start over then, because we need to know our criteria. Because if it works, we need to know why it works, and if it doesn't work, we need to know why it didn't work. And if we don't know the criteria, we're just flying blind. Okay, so well, that's the first step. We pull the list. Then we skip trace it. Okay. Skip tracing is the art of finding an accurate phone number. All right. Our skip tracing is extremely accurate. We get the right person on the phone over 80% of the time. And again, you can also provide your own skip tracing. Okay, I don't force you to use anything of mine. I will also ask you where you got it from.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's very important. But as long as you got it from a place with a reputation, that's a real business, not some dude in your DMs or some guy on Fiverr, I'm happy. Okay, just to be transparent there. Then after we skip trace it, I have cold callers. Now we're unique, one of a kind, still the only company in the real estate space. We have American callers and foreign callers. Okay, the American callers live right here in the United States. The foreign callers, they live overseas. Now here's how I recommend you decide which is best for you. For the Americans, I recommend them for land, or I recommend them if you're in a very rural market, or if you have a niche list. So if your list only has like 1,000 people on it, throw on the Americans. But if your list has several thousand, tens of thousands, you're fine with the foreign callers, right? And it's because the less we have, the more we have to treat them like gold, right? Is what that
Right.
is.
Right.
Then we have our foreign callers. With our foreign callers, same thing. We use them in more saturated markets or if we're doing houses. Okay. Generally, the foreign callers are great. And I do like to just be clear with everybody. Just because I said American and foreign doesn't mean our foreign callers have a thick accent. Yes, foreign callers often do have a thick accent, but I'm a man of quality. We've got 9 years in business. I can't put someone shitty on the phone for you, right? So I vet all of my callers for you automatically, and they sound American. One thing I tell people is like 75% of what they say sounds amazing, right? They are going to have a couple words in their vocabulary where you can tell that they're not from here, but
Well, sure.
other than
That's
that,
expected.
that's right. But other than that, about 75%, you would think you're dealing with an American. And then the way I do that, I'll give everyone a little nugget real quick, is when I hire them, I have them send me a recording of their voice. And then I close my eyes and I listen to it. And I ask myself, do I think this person lives in the United States? Now, I know they don't, but do I think they do? Because that's what I need our sellers to think,
Yeah.
right? So that's the number one qualifier for me to hire a foreign caller. I just want to say they're awesome. It's not like what you may have experienced in the past. Then after that, I have, when we cold call, we call everyone 2 to 3 times each. We ask them if they own the property and if they've ever considered selling. If they have owned the property and they have considered selling, then we ask them 10 questions about the property, and we deliver all that to you the second we hang up the phone. All the questions we asked, all the answers they gave. We even have a section for rapport notes, which is maybe like less obvious things that happened on the call, some nuanced things that happened, and then we send that right over to you. Now, after we call them, we also text message everybody. Okay, so I want you guys to think this is a thorough system. You got a list, you're getting 2 to 3 calls, and you're getting one text for everybody on that list. You can, I call it sleeping easy. You can now sleep easy knowing that Nick kicked that list's ass. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. So you're just laying in bed. Oh yeah, we did our best. Yeah, we did our best out there, and that's what's important. Because when we have leads, we can't give up after the first call. We can't only try them once, right? We have to do everything we can. And so I like the 2 to 3 calls and the one text for everybody. So that's kind of my service in a nutshell. The last thing I would add is we're no contracts, no commitments, and no setup fees. Okay, so I'm not going to bill you again 30 days later. The way I work is if you give me $1,000, you get good results, come back, buy another package. I don't start billing your credit card, and I don't make you sign a contract. I want my clients that use me to like me. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to have tricked them into a contract 6 months ago and then they hate me every step along the way. Instead, I don't like the contract model. I love the amazing customer service model. This model also makes me fight for your business every day because it's not guaranteed. So it's a really cool system I created.
So what I love about that description, and that was perfect, is in full transparency, I am a client in your system, and we're very happy with it for this reason, because somebody might say, and back when we started using your service, cold calling was, I think, really like the new shiny object in
No,
the
right.
industry anyway. Right? So why not just cold call yourself? It's a lot cheaper. That's what everybody used to say. It's a lot cheaper. Just cold call yourself. And having done both, everything that you just said we have to do either on our own or manage the person doing it, which I don't want to do, right? I would
Yeah.
rather come to you. That was the great part about it. When I bought the product, we got the leads. So by the time I heard about them, you've gone through all the garbage, you've
Right.
gone through all the FUs, and you got to the person that said, yeah, maybe it's worth a conversation.
Yeah. And to add to that, there's way less friction for you, right? Let's say you have a VA pulling your list. They pull the wrong list. They
Yeah.
don't give you the right filter criteria. You could have a VA pull the wrong list, give it to your cold caller, have your cold caller call it, spend 3 months not knowing why it's not working. And the reality was the first part was just done wrong, right?
Yeah.
So the other perk I'd say of using us is you get that expert edge. I should write that down. I love that. The expert edge. You really do, though. We protect you. If you give us bad criteria, my team will tell you, hey, Nick recommends this. If they say owner occupied, hey, no owner occupied, absentee. Like we guide them 35% or greater equity. We're always like helping our client because and to your point, one other great reason to outsource it, especially to a reputable company like mine, is there's so many things that can go wrong when you do it in-house. What script are we using? What dialer am I using? Am I buying enough phone numbers? Am I even listening to my VA's cold calls? Or am I just going, oh, I hope we get a bunch of leads? And a lot of people do that, right? And it's because they don't know how to cold call themselves. So how can they coach someone on doing that? And the last thing I'll touch on is the expenses. A lot of people don't understand. A full-time VA at $5 an hour is about $950 a month.
Yeah.
People, they just think $5 an hour. They forget that it's 5 times 40 times 4.3. That's how you come up with the monthly cost of something, right? And the costs start getting really big really fast as well when you go in-house.
And depending on where you're sourcing your lists, I mean, you're into this for a couple $1,000s a month, no matter before you even pick up the phone.
And I didn't even and I was actually just thinking I left that out, but between the dialer and the list, I mean, a list to keep a full-time caller busy should be 25, 30,000 records. How much does it cost to get 20,000 records pulled in skip trace, right? So to your exact point, before the phone's even executed, okay, you've got $1,000 in data and $250 on a dialer, okay?
Yeah.
And then if you have an employee, the one thing I try to tell people about employees is employees require leadership. And I think that is very often overlooked, okay? Like real leadership, hiring, training, accountability, development, human resources, when you bring on an employee, even a VA, you got to do human resources. I know that I'm going to say something that might come off weird, but I know sometimes when we think VA, we think less than, right? We think, what human resource issue could I have with the VA? I pay them, they do the work. No. What if they don't like the work? What if your partner said something rude to them and now you have to mediate between both of these things? What if they get offended? Which they're going to, right? What if they don't like what you're saying? So there's so much in leadership that I think so many people, the difference about me, which I stated earlier, my restaurant career was my leadership training ground. So one of the reasons why I'm so good at this is because I used to run in-person teams of like 70 people. I know what it's like to keep them happy and create fairness and be a good human resource advocate for my team. And that's actually the part that a lot of people overlook. Yeah, I got a VA, they're doing this. Who's watching them? Huh? Who's listening to their calls? What? Who's tracking
I could say to your point, what if they have a different name on Facebook and they post themselves live at the club during the hours that you're paying them? True story.
Yeah.
I mean, we found that with one of ours.
Yeah. I caught a VA sleeping. I caught it 8 years ago. I hired it was one of my first round of calls and I was listening to the call recording. I'm not even kidding. And it's like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, bro, because he was also in South America. So it's not like he's overnight. So I'm like, you're just partying all night, bro? I did fire him on the spot, just so you guys know, I have a very low tolerance for low integrity. Okay. If you're tired, take a nap. You don't have to work for me right now. I'm not making anyone work. One cool thing I do with my employees is they all work whenever they want to. Okay. And that's a big part of our secret sauce because cold calling sucks. And so
Yeah.
if I force them to call, they would hate me way more because I would be interrupting their life. But letting them work whenever they want to means they can handle all of their responsibilities first and then clock into work as well.
I had a good conversation with my daughter. She's just getting into the business. She's 20, or she's going to be 20 in a couple of weeks
Yeah,
here.
awesome.
And she wants to get into real estate investing. And she asked me what I think she should do for leads because right now she's just been doing the driving for dollars, like kind of how we all started out, shopping a little bit on the MLS. And she said, "Well, now I have a little bit of money. I want to put it into the marketing." And I told her to go through you. And then her rebuttal to that, because of stuff she's seen online, is, well, cold calling, those are cold leads. Like, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. I want to talk to people that are ready to talk to me. And I said, well, here's the difference. And I was going to ask you to talk about this, but I can talk about it because I explained it to her. In
Yeah.
my experience with it, right, you take the words cold calling out of your head.
Right.
If you were to match this up against like PPL, which we've also done, and PPC, which we've also done, PPC maybe a little bit more warmer, but PPL is a form that somebody's willing to fill out on somebody's website somewhere. And eventually it filters to you. In some cases, it could go to 30, 40, 50, 100 different investors. You're still fighting for that space. Direct
Right.
mail, kind of the same thing with direct mail. You know, how many houses have we gone into where we see 10 to 15 postcards sitting on the
Postcards in a pile, right? Yeah, you're probably
right, just
exactly what
sitting
you're
on the
about to
coffee
say.
table, and then it comes down to a strong sales process, which we have. So that's a non-issue, but you're still going up against competition. Our experience with the leads that we got from you is it wasn't cold calling for us; it's cold calling for you. When it gets to me, it's a warm lead.
Right. And I just, a quote I just thought of is we turn outbound into inbound,
Yeah, right.
right?
That.
And I think that that's an important distinction to your point. And to add to what you were saying about PPL and direct mail, it's not only inbound, it's like guaranteed exclusive inbound.
Yeah,
Because the guy who called you for the direct mail probably called the five people below you too, and they're all coming over to the house to
guaranteed.
talk
Yeah,
about it. Yeah. And the guy who did the PPL filled out the form online, filled out five forms online. But were they cold called by someone as good as us and then also had the conversation? I think that that's a really, I like that epiphany. It's like, it's not cold to you. This is why you're paying me to dig up
yeah,
the gold. So you don't have to deal with that.
right. Well worth it.
Yeah.
And side note, the direct mail, I used to look at that as a challenge. Like if I knew they had other people coming, obviously I would ask them about it. I see all those postcards out there. They kind of look like mine, right? Are you looking to meet with them too? Oh yeah, we have three more people coming tomorrow. I would sit in that out for 4 hours. Be like, hey, do you want to do this again five more times,
All
or
right.
should we
Yeah.
just figure this out right now?
Yeah, good. I like that. I love that angle. And one of the reason I like about cold calling versus direct mail, and I learned this from that coaching company I used to work with, is when you're new, it's stressful to spend $1,000 and wait by the phone. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean this with all due respect, but direct mail itself is not a skill-based effort. Okay. And I'll give you an example. Anyone who's familiar with casinos or blackjack, I like to use this example, right? Direct mail to me reminds me of a slot machine. Yes, you put money in, you pull the arm, there's a chance. There's a chance. I can't really add any skill in and improve that chance. It's just you pull the lever, ding, 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 ding,
yeah,
it all just goes, right? Now, cold calling, I like to relate to blackjack. And those who don't know, blackjack is one of the only games in the casino where you actually have a 51% chance to win. And it's because if you are a skilled blackjack player, you can actually beat the house almost every time. And that's what I liked about cold calling. I like strategies that I can gain skill in that can improve my numbers, right? On the phone, I can be a bit more engaged. I could be friendlier. I could ask better questions. With direct mail, what do you change the color? You
yeah.
know, what do you change the call to action? It's not as hand to hand combat. I can't like respond and react, and that's why I also love cold calling and text messaging because my processes and my skills can flip the numbers into our favor. And direct mail can sometimes just be like, did anyone call that phone number? And it doesn't feel like we can intervene on those results that much. We can be better converters once they do call,
Yeah.
right? But we can't really do much to get more calls.
Still need them to take action.
That's right.
Let me play, because I want to hear your answer on this. Let me play devil's advocate to what you just said. And somebody says, yeah, but Nick, like the person you're calling had no idea you were reaching out in the first place.
Right.
Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, so I think that works to your favor. Now, so that's an important distinction. Cold calling, what makes it different is you're in earlier in the process, which in my opinion, that's your benefit. If they call you after they met with 3 wholesalers, you're screwed. Okay? And not that you're screwed, but you're now fighting, you're competing. There's 5 sharks in the water and 1 piece of meat. Okay? Now, cold calling, I've always said, gets you in earlier in the process, which is exactly what you need. We get in there. Anyone who's seen the movie Inception, it's kind of older now. I can't believe I just said that. Inception's an old movie. It is. It's like 15 years old probably.
Yeah.
But that movie is about giving people the idea in a dream and then utilizing that to your benefit. Think of cold calling as us giving them the idea, and then their call with you, you get to actually create the sale, right? As opposed to if they've already made up their mind, they already know how they expect it to go. And if you don't line up with that, you're out. But if they're thinking about it and you show up and you say, I have a better path, check out this path, it's going to put you back in control. And I'd love to just give everyone watching my one-liner that I use. I recommend saying this to every lead I send you. Okay, can I share that with everyone real quick? Yeah. All right. So we have to do, the trick with the cold call is this. We have to build a relationship very fast, and we have to find out if this is a good lead for us very fast. Okay? Yeah. Now, there's 2 sentences that I recommend will get you there pretty quickly. The first sentence. Hey, you just spoke to Amy about 123 Sycamore Street. Is that correct? Oh, yeah, I sure did. Oh, great. Well, hey, Amy told me you might be interested in selling, but why don't you tell me, how did you plan on doing that? Okay? And what you're actually asking is, so what gave you that idea, bud?
Yeah.
Right? But if you came out and said that, they'd be like, what the hell are you talking? Like, you'd sound like an idiot. But how did you plan on doing that? Now, they're going to tell you everything that's going on in their world. Okay? Now, here's where the word conversion comes in, right? They don't have to say exactly what you want to hear. If someone says exactly what you want to hear, that's not conversion. That's closing the deal, right? But the reality is some people, there's some mismatch somewhere, or we have to take them from where they are to where we want them to be. That's conversion. So when we say, how did you plan on doing that? When they throw up all over you, they're actually telling you, here's how you can convert me to your style. Right now, I think I might be a retail lead because I want to sell for top dollar. Great. So I'll keep my fake role play going just for a couple more minutes.
Yeah, this is good.
But it's okay. So you think it's worth retail? Awesome. When was the last time you remodeled the house? Oh, 20 years ago. Okay. So you're not getting top dollar. We don't say that out loud. Okay. But the point I'm making is everyone thinks their property's in great condition. They've owned it forever. They don't know that they killed the plant in the corner of the room 10 years ago. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, some challenging. Hey, so tell me, is it really that nice? Tell me, when was the last time the roof done? And before you know it, in 5 minutes, you see there's $35,000 worth of repairs and upgrades needed. And again, we're beginning the, well, great. Well, hey, why don't I come out and take a look at it? We'll take a look at everything together. I'll make sure that this is the easiest on you as possible. One other little tip I'd like to recommend, mainly because we're early in the process. Yeah. Some people feel like they have to repair the property themselves before they sell it. I'm sure you've seen that, Chris. Sure, they think they have like a moral obligation, right? I can't sell it with this leaky pipe, but I can't afford to fix the leaky pipe, right? So they're in this turmoil phase that they don't know what to do. My advice to everyone watching, you let them know, hey, I specialize in that. If we make a deal together, the uglier the property is, the happier I am. You just walk away. I'm your project manager to getting repairs done.
Yeah.
I'm the guy. And you know what? And we've done this 1,000 times before. So I know this is a 10,000 pound problem for you right now. This is a 5 pound problem for me. And we give them that comfort and letting them know it's okay to let this property go.
Yeah, and to that, it may be, this is going to sound weird, and I'll explain why I'm about to say this, but it just on the sales side too, when we're going through our sales process, we run into the same things. It may be just as fresh to the seller as it is to you walking into their house for the first time. Meaning, and I'll simplify it, you have a bathroom and you have four lights in the bathroom. One of the bulbs went out 10 years ago. They just didn't want to replace it. So they've lived for the past 10 years with this bulb out. Then you walk in and you're like, oh, the bulb's out. And they're like, oh, it is? Because they've gotten used to, they've
Right.
adapted to that.
They're
So a
conditioned.
lot of the things on a bigger scale, a lot of things that are wrong with the house, that's just, this is the way the
They're
house
not
is.
seeing it. Yeah.
Right.
And the story I like to tell to talk about that is, um, I think you're of the age as well, but and when I was a kid, we
What do
bought
you mean?
cars out of newspaper. Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, we actually bought how we bought vehicles was out of the newspaper in the classifieds.
Yeah.
Okay. Every car in the classified said the same thing. Do you remember? It says runs great, excellent condition.
Yep.
Every fucking car. Okay.
Yep.
And then you go and you see the car and the windows don't roll down and the AC doesn't work.
Yep.
And this is what I'm getting at. So one of my clients told me he does this trick. He says, Nick, I talk about whatever the seller wants to talk about at first. I want to rent it. Oh, you want to rent it? Great. Can I come out and take a look at it?
Yeah.
And then he takes a tour of it. He sees it with the seller, so all the problems come out, right? Even the seller, I don't know if you've ever done this before. You ever watch a movie with someone that you love the movie, but the person hasn't watched it yet, and you put it on, and you're kind of seeing the movie differently because you're kind of seeing it through their eyes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes they'll even be like, "Oh, I didn't realize how bad this stuff was until I took you on a tour." And what I'm getting at is being at the property with the seller helps demystify the condition that they think it's in. Because to your point exactly, they are blind to all of the problems, you
Yeah.
know, and then it helps jar that loose a little bit.
Absolutely. Plenty of times walking through a house that, they say, oh, I didn't realize it was that bad. I didn't have to say it. It's just sitting there with them. I didn't realize that wall had gotten so bad. And
Right.
okay, let's move
Right.
on to the next thing. And they're just
Yeah, that's right. And that's the other thing I say too. Don't harp on it. I'll tell you, these people, they're also sensitive. I'll give everyone a quick story real quick. Same thing. I was working with the realtor. I had a realtor come over, never met him before. Oh, this fucking house, the paint's ugly. We got to get this fixed out. I'm like, get the fuck out. Get the
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
out of
yeah.
my, it's because it's like, so to your point, just move off. Hey, yeah, hey, no, not a problem. Because there is guilt. There's home guilt. It's a thing. So don't go out of your way to call it out, but don't pretend like you don't see it either, right? But let's not harp on it too much, because the number one thing we want is the seller to like us,
Right.
right? We're not going to close this deal if we show up like a know-it-all, rude, or telling them how disgusting their property is, right? I know it seems like that's going to help, but it doesn't. So always keeping their happiness in mind is really important.
I'll tell you a quick funny story based on that. When we first started out, I did YouTube University. I didn't learn the right way in our first year. We just tried to do it as quick and easy as possible just to get into it. And the way that was taught to walk the house and do the tour with the seller was to pick out the things that are wrong. And let's start building a budget together, but us making sure that they know there's something wrong with their house.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
nowadays, I mean, hell, I don't even talk about the house in most of my sales calls.
Sure.
But back then I did, and one of the things was to always carry a notebook with you and a pen,
Yeah.
and you go poking at things.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these times you're going to walk into somebody's house that they grew up in it was their parents' house, it's been in the family for 50, 60 years, very, very personal. Doesn't matter how bad you think it is, it's a personal place.
That's right. Yeah. It's like a museum. right?
Yeah.
It's like everything's in its place.
Yeah. So
Right.
I walked through this house with this guy, lived on his own, parents passed away. He had lived in this house since he was a kid. He was in his 60s, planning on moving out of state. I thought the appointment was going great until we got upstairs and I'm doing my thing with my pen and it's a plaster wall and I go to poke it and the whole hallway wall fell down. Dust and plaster everywhere. You can see the old wood boards that they used to put behind the plaster. Basically told me to get the hell out of his house, never come back again. So long story short, we didn't sign that contract, and I stopped doing that day.
Wow, wow, wow. And isn't it life funny how it takes like an exaggerated moment like that
Yeah,
to create a massive change? Like, wait a second. Like, we were close. We could have found that out a week later after we had a better interaction. And it would
yeah.
he would have said, hey, you wouldn't believe my wall fell down. Now I really need to sell.
But I mean, lessons like that can work even in your model because even on that first phone call, we tend to, and I think we tend to do it more the longer we're in the business because we learn more about it. We're a little more educated, and the ignorance sometimes that plays in our favor is gone. So we can assume things when we get on the phone with people on day one, and that assumption can kill the phone call.
So one of the things I do to help combat that is I say the first contact with the seller, I coin that imaginary tea time.
Oh, I
Okay.
like that. Yeah,
And yeah, and it's like, think about hanging out with your daughter and her stuffed animals are there, and each stuffed animal has a personality, and there's an imaginary friend there, and you're just having a good time with your daughter. That's not the time to go, honey, you know that stuffed elephant isn't really drinking the tea,
yeah, right.
right? That's not the time. We're not trying to be combative during imaginary tea time. I call it playing in their world. We are not here to argue, be combative, challenge anything. Yeah, tell me more. Yeah, oh yeah, grandma? Oh, what was grandma like? It's like nothing is like, that sounds old. That sounds expensive.
Yeah.
We're not doing any challenging. And then I remind people, I have this really funny saying. I say, why don't we do that? And I said, tell me about a time when you argued with someone the very first time you ever met them. And now tell me, what does that relationship look like today? Okay. Anyone who's ever argued with you the day you met them, you hate that person. I remember that guy. He told me to kick rocks the first time. It's like whatever it was, we will never forget that. So we don't want to put that impression out there.
Yeah.
The first impression, we'll go with the flow. Then we do research. Then we come back with a little bit tougher questions. And even then, we're not challenging, we're inquiring. So that's
Yeah.
how I like to tell people because I understand you need to close a deal, but remember the Looney Tunes cartoons. Whenever Foghorn Leghorn, I think his name was, where he would get dollar signs in his eyes or meat signs in his eyes, and
Yeah.
people can tell. So try to close the dollar signs out of your eyes. Don't have that. Don't be so focused on you making money that you burn bridges by accident.
Well, think of it like marriage. You don't really start arguing until after the vows, not beforehand.
Yeah, that's where the real problems come. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. Of
All right. Well, I've taken enough of your time, but I do want to thank you for being on the boardroom.
course, man.
What is the easiest way for somebody to look you up if they want to look into lead mining pros? What's the best way to get to you?
Yeah, leadminingpros.com is the website. Check us out there. From there, my cell phone number's on the website, and you can book a call. Let me know you found me on this podcast. Okay, I'll give you a bonus just for doing so. And I also offer free courses on that website, and I have a Facebook group. And Chris, you're actually an admin in that group with me. So you have access to that as well. And that's all at the website at the very top. My courses, my scripts, and access to the Facebook group. So you can find
Awesome.
everything you need right from there.
And I'll make sure I get all of those links into the show notes. But
Awesome.
yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, Chris. This was awesome. See you.